Part 76. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 758. A breakfast was spent in harmony. During this period, Mei Wengxiang was very restrained and did not show any interest in Guqi. If Shan Yu hadn't heard the assistant's thoughts in advance, he really wouldn't have been able to tell Mei Wengxiang's hidden thoughts. However, since Mei Wengxiang didn't directly ask for or rob someone, she still had some concerns. In other words, Shan Yu still had value to her. Although Shan Yu helped Mei Wengxiang successfully lose half of his weight, there has been no progress in continuing the family lineage that the latter wanted most. When Shan Yu didn't show that he had lost interest in Guqi and wanted to abandon him, if Mei Wengxiang had some ideas, he wouldn't think of taking action against Guqi. Even if she wanted to take action against Guqi, she would have to wait until Shan Yu helped her solve the problem of inheriting the family line. Because of Mei Wengxiang's back-and-forth attitude, Shan Yu and Guqi did not go out today, and only Su Tingyu was asked to go out and contact the members of Xing. After a peaceful day, at noon on the fourth day of the dungeon, the banquet began. When Mei Wengxiang came to the scene, there were many people and it was very lively. Some dignitaries were discussing men, and some were discussing political affairs. It seemed that wherever they went, there was a happy scene. There were too many people, and more eyes were falling on Guqi. In order to reduce unnecessary trouble, Shan Yu directly held Guqi's hand, said goodbye to Mei Wengxiang, and went to sit in a quiet corner with relatively few people. Shan Yu sat down and just breathed a sigh of relief when he suddenly remembered that when Guqi didn't react at all, he saw a familiar face in the crowd. Chu Xinyu. Sure enough, she came too. Shan Yu saw that Guqi had been staring in the direction of Chu Xinyu, with various emotions in his eyes. Don't be impulsive, take your time. Shan Yu squeezed Guqi's palm. It was a little soft and not as hot as last night. I know, and, can you let go, let go? Oh. Okay, how about I hold you instead? Well, just like over there. Shan Yu said she had no objection, but the next second, she stretched out her hand and pointed in one direction. Guqi looked over and saw several women hugging each other. His expression changed instantly. He turned his head and glared at Shan Yu with a pair of cat eyes. You. Huh? So what? Shan Yu tilted his head, pretending to be confused. Hello, miss, excuse me. At this time, a woman hugging Shan Yu came over to talk to Shan Yu. Before they had even talked for a few words, the woman brought the topic to Guqi. Is this your pet? Are you interested in exchanging pets? I can take 2 of them and exchange them for this one of yours. Change pets? Shan Yu seemed to be a little interested, and looked at Guqi playfully. Guqi, who was waiting for Shan Yu to refuse directly, suddenly became a little uneasy when he saw that Shan Yu seemed to be really considering it. Guqi narrowed his eyes slightly with a threatening look. You dare to nod and try? Seeing this, Shan Yu chuckled and quickly expressed his stance. Ahem, I'm sorry, this little baby of mine is very delicate, and I can't put it down, so I won't exchange it. Okay then. Finally, the woman looked at Guqi regretfully, then hugged the 2 pets in her arms and left, looking for the next target of exchange. As soon as the person left, Guqi couldn't help but ask, with a very dissatisfied expression, what baby? What squeamishness? The smile on Shan Yu's lips never disappeared, and she explained calmly, it's all just rhetoric. What? Does Mr. Guju take it seriously? Or, did I say it right? Are you really squeamish? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 759. Guqi glared at the person, and finally could only say 2 words in a firm tone, shut up. Shan Yu smiled, then turned around and looked around. At this time, Su Tingyu had already left the team. When attending such a banquet, Guqi would have to be followed by someone to look after him, and no matter who followed him, it would be inconvenient. Therefore, Sotingyu came out alone. The banquet was held in a private winery near the sea, which was said to be the private property of a certain royal family member. Sotingyu dodged all the eyes and came to the cliff behind the hotel. There is a hotel's spare kitchen and granary here, and there are not many people. A back door of the spare kitchen still leads directly to the back cliff. When Sotingyu entered, the few chefs left behind saw the unfamiliar Sotingyu and spoke one after another. "Who are you? What do you want to do here? Where did this little kid come from?" Sotingyu smiled at the people present, and then neatly took out the meteor rod. 5 minutes later, Sotingyu stepped over several unconscious bodies and opened the back door of the kitchen. On the edge of the cliff, there are fixed devices of rock climbing ropes hanging. Below the ropes, there are some people hanging on the cliff, moving up little by little. Sotingyu waited for 15 minutes before everyone came up. There were 75 people in total, all members of Seeing. In just one day, Sotingyu was quite surprised that so many Seeing members were able to gather, and admired the efficiency of Seeing. In addition to the members of Seeing entering the hotel, several groups of people also lurked into the hotel from corners in different directions. During this period, they were occasionally bumped into and knocked unconscious. If you want to cause chaos, you must first grasp the sore spots of the yin zone. Once those powerful people fall into the hands of gangsters, Sotingyu will no longer believe that the yin zone will not collapse. Just stick to the plan. By the way, you might get into trouble soon. After all, if it continues to be delayed, firstly, there is no better time, and secondly, there are only a few days left in the 7-day transformation period. When the 7-day transformation period is over, the strength of male players will be affected even more. Okay, Miss Su. Well, you wait for my news first. There were many people at the banquet, but Sotingyu and others had done some research beforehand and knew which people were the most important. If you want to cause trouble, you have to get it right at once. As for how Sotingyu would do it, yesterday, Sotingyu also slightly revealed that he could hypnotize. However, regarding the fact that she could hypnotize, Sotingyu temporarily thought of using a prop she had to fool him. Fortunately, Gucci and Shan Yu didn't go into details. The first target Sotingyu left the backup kitchen to look for was the owner of the winery, who was now the second princess of the Jian continent's royal family. The second princess is a strong contender to be the next queen's successor. Therefore, no matter whether they are from the second princess's party or not, it is difficult to refute the second princess's refusal to attend the banquet hosted by the second princess in order to save her face. As for why the second princess held this banquet, one of the reasons was to take the opportunity to win over more powerful people to support her. Another reason is that the position of the second princess as the prince has not been confirmed. This time, I also want to select a prince who is suitable for me among the young masters brought by many visitors, and then use this to increase your power. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 760. In a room somewhere in the winery. In the large and spacious cloakroom, some men's feminine flattery sounds continued to come out. Your Highness, what you are wearing today is really majestic and charming. Your Highness, this dress suits you just right. No one is more handsome than you. Haha, that's right. The woman in gorgeous clothes was admiring her appearance in the mirror, while the two male servants on the side were spreading all kinds of nice words for free, licking the woman all over her body. The female subordinate who was waiting alone at the door of the cloakroom glanced at the time on the watch on her wrist and reminded her loudly, Your Highness, it's almost time. It's time to set off. Okay, wait until you come back to appreciate the beauty of this palace. The second princess stretched out her hand to lift the braid hanging down on the side of her face. Her tone of voice was extremely narcissistic. The female subordinate began to report some of the latest news about the banquet that she had just received. Your Highness, except for a few of today's guests who were unable to spare time, the rest are basically here. The second princess's face turned cold. Is there anyone else who hasn't come? He. Who is so ignorant that he dares to refute our face? Female subordinate, it's the ones that are always close to the eldest princess. That's no wonder. Upon hearing this, the second princess' face concealed some impulsive anger. As long as the houses that I had previously chosen don't run away. They're all here. That's good. At the same time, outside the door, Sutingyu's figure appeared at the edge of the door, and she was holding an ordinary-looking hat in her hand. It should be here. Sutingyu looked at the door in front of him and muttered to himself. The current second princess of the Jian royal family is an extremely narcissistic and beautiful woman. Before every grand appearance, she would dress up for several hours, and finally she was barely satisfied before leaving. Because of this hobby of the second princess, the hotel under her name also has a huge cloakroom with all kinds of items in it. Sutingyu put on his hat again and became invisible again. Then, the door to the room opened by itself. Sutingyu sneaked into the room that was bigger than a football field and started looking for the second princess. The cloakroom should be inside the cloakroom. Sutingyu tiptoed towards the place that was suspected of a cloakroom. However, Sutingyu bumped into the second princess who had just come out of the cloakroom. The sudden incident made Sutingyu freeze on the spot for a moment, but the second princess and others did not notice her. In hindsight, Sutingyu had already revealed a bit of a spoiler. For a moment, follow me. I need to know the information of the person in front of me at any time. Do you understand? The second princess, as proud as a swan, has no habit of remembering people. Yes, Your Highness. Sutingyu counted the number of people. Including the second princess, there were 4 people in total. The 2 male servants should be useless, but the second princess and the female subordinate might have some strange abilities. If they hadn't been subdued immediately, they might have alerted the guards outside. Just when Sutingyu was wondering which one to attack first. I'm going to take a rest first. People have 3 urgent needs, and the noble second princess is no exception. Seeing this, Sutingyu's eyes brightened slightly and he followed quietly. Entering the bathroom, the second princess was still in a leisurely mood and even sang an unknown ditty. All right, the prince of this palace, he is here. The second princess was imagining what kind of handsome man the future prince would be, when the bathroom door suddenly seemed to be blown open by the wind. The second princess didn't pay much attention, just thinking that she didn't close the door properly just now. Without the second princess' knowledge, the invisible Sutingyu had already stood behind the second princess, and slowly raised the meteor rod in his hand. Boom! With one stroke of the stick, Sutingyu was sure of the right measure, so that the second princess could faint without any reaction at all, while at the same time not attracting the attention of the remaining 3 people outside. After the second princess was knocked unconscious, Sutingyu stretched out one hand and supported the former, making her fall to the ground without making a sound. Immediately afterwards, Sutingyu took out the few remaining disguise potions. After taking one bottle, he quickly transformed into the appearance of the second princess. So, Sutingyu stepped out with a normal expression. Before the 3 of them could react, she raised her fingers towards the 2 male servants and said, "You 2, come here." After saying that, Sutingyu turned around and went back. Got to the restroom. The 2 male servants were slightly startled for a moment, and then they all came to their senses. Is His Highness going to cause trouble again? The male servant had no right to refuse or hesitate. He had already received the order from His Second Highness and had no choice but to walk over obediently. Your Highness, you are really annoying. It's just finished. Sutingyu, who was hiding behind the bathroom door, had goosebumps all over the floor when he heard these sounds. He couldn't hold it back even after checking. Waiting for the two of them to open the door and come in, Sutinyu struck each of them with a stick very neatly, knocking them both unconscious. When the remaining female subordinates saw the male servant being found, they shook their heads slightly. "Your Highness, I'm going to the banquet first. Please hurry up." No respond. The female subordinate didn't think anything was wrong. His Highness was probably having too much fun and was too involved. In the bathroom, Sutinyu leaned against the wall, listening to the footsteps that were getting further away outside, and then slowly breathed a sigh of relief. When she turned to look at the three people on the bathroom floor again, her eyes rolled slightly, and then she took out a recording pen from the storage ring. Because there are times in the dungeon where you can't sing anytime and anywhere, Sutinyu's hypnotic singing voice has been recorded in the recorder in advance. After Sutinyu turned it on, he adjusted the volume so that it could only be heard in the bathroom, and then started playing in an infinite loop until the battery ran out. After doing this, Sutinyu walked out of the bathroom. At this time, in some alternate space, the two managers are constantly paying attention to the operation of the copy of Yin Yang Star. On hundreds of transparent screens, the situation and status of some Blue Star players on Yin Yang Star are broadcast in real time. Ha ha ha, they are really a bunch of fools. From time to time, some of the pictures on the screen would become interesting, and the managers of Yin Yang Star would ridicule them again and again. Is it funny? Suddenly, a calm voice of inquiry sounded. That's not true. The manager of Yin Yang Star responded subconsciously. But as soon as he finished answering, he felt something was wrong. Sure enough, above, a whirlpool door opened, and three figures flew out. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 761. These are really rare guests, three of us. When they saw who it was, the two Yin Yang Star administrators suppressed the smiles on their faces and quickly erased all the images on the screens in front of them. Come on. Came to the door. You bunch of idiots are just hiding in the dark and peeping, but we found it. One of the Blue Star administrators opened his mouth with a friendly greeting. An administrator from Yin Yang Star smiled. It's not good for managers from Blue Star to be so angry. Why not learn from us, be calm, and remain elegant at all times? The Blue Star administrators were too lazy to argue with these people and went straight to the point and made their intentions clear. More than 40,000 Blue Star players have mistakenly entered Yin Yang Star. You should hurry up and let everyone go. This, isn't it against the rules? Upon hearing this, the management of Yin Yang Star sighed, saying that he was a little helpless. Although this was caused by an accident, we also express our sympathy, but since we have entered the dungeon, we cannot come out casually without completing the corresponding main task. This is the rule of the parallel paradise. There is nothing I can do to help. The hot-tempered Blue Star manager asked directly, in one sentence, will you let me go or not? Irregular. The administrator of Yin Yang Star still responded with these four dry words, but there was a sense of pride and contempt in his eyes. Okay, you won't let it go, right? Then don't regret it. When the administrator of Yin Yang Star heard this, his expression was as usual, but he felt extremely funny in his heart. Regret? What a shame. It's you, Blue Star, who should cry. If all of these more than 40,000 players were completely retained, it would be enough for Blue Star to suffer for a while. The three managers from Blue Star discussed with each other. What should I do? It's too soft. According to what I said, you should go straight to the hard one. Not urgent. At this time, a Blue Star administrator stood up and asked, since more than 40,000 Blue Star players have entered Yin Yang Star, how are the dungeon tasks arranged for this temporary replacement dungeon? You should be able to say this, right? This. Hearing this, the administrator of Yin Yang Star suddenly became a little hesitant. What? You guys are so shameless that you even tampered with this? You can't do anything about it now, can you? The words of the Blue Star administrator were so precise that they seemed to instantly pierce through some insidious villain. Human mind. This naturally doesn't exist. The administrator of Yin Yang Star gave a friendly smile, flicked his fingertips, and handed the adjusted data to the Blue Star administrators for review. Look, this is a very simple main mission. If the Blue Star player is not a fool, he can just clear the level and it will be easy. The Blue Star administrator listened and rolled his eyes disdainfully. Don't think that I can't guess that you secretly changed the data. Since it's very simple, let's stay a little longer and wait for the Blue Star players to clear the level. You two, you shouldn't mind us being in the way, right? No, it's up to you. The administrator of Yin Yang Star smiled and seemed not to care about this. But with the Blue Star administrator watching all the time, some of the little tricks in the past were too embarrassed to show up again. At the same time, just when Sutingyu was about to walk out of the room, a panel popped up in front of her eyes. Copy, Yin Yang City. Background, a world divided into yin and yang in the extremely yin zone, women are respected, and women are the masters. All men living there can only be reduced to slaves, beasts, and playthings for women to abuse. In the extremely yang zone, men are respected, and men are the masters. All women, including those included, can only be reduced to slaves, beasts, and playthings for men to abuse. Number of players, 44,444. Main mission, survive for 7 days without becoming an NPC pet. Difficulty, 6 stars. Duration, 7 days. Pass-through rewards, after clearing the level, you can get a certain amount of game coins, a probability of getting game props and lottery opportunities, and a probability of getting free attribute points. Penalty for failure, 2,000 game coins deducted. Sutingyu, What's the big deal? The content of the copy has been completely completed. At this time, Sutingyu didn't care about the current plan and read all the contents of the new copy carefully. If there were no dungeon content that was full of question marks before, the dungeon content displayed now would be considered relatively normal. Who triggered the hidden mechanism of the dungeon? So the previous question mark disappeared. Sutingyu could only think of this possibility. It couldn't be that the dungeon was convulsed and he must have added it later. The task of this round of dungeons turns out to be just to keep players alive for 7 days. No wonder I can't find any clues about the task. It turns out that it is a dungeon with a single survival attribute. However, now that the main mission is clear, the current plan. Sutingyu had a troubled face. According to the newly completed contents of the dungeon, players only need to survive for 7 days to complete the main mission and successfully pass the level. Then there is no need to go to extra trouble and start any riots. Could it be a normal and stable copy of the customs clearance? Isn't this delicious? Forget it, it's all planned. I can't live up to everyone's expectations of me. In the end, Sutingyu's desire for destruction, it was his sense of responsibility that defeated his ideological conservatism. The plan continues. The main thing is that she has already beaten everyone and used all the potions, so how can she just give up? And wow, how can you give up on such a fun thing? Sutingyu first went back to find the scene members who had kept the backup kitchen, and the latter also received updates on the content of the copy. Miss Su, do we want to continue now? Some members of the scene team, just as Sutingyu expected, felt that since the main mission was to ensure survival, they should not do unnecessary and eye-catching things. Sutingyu nodded affirmatively. Go on, didn't you see that the main mission up there says you have to survive for 7 days? Now you still have a certain ability to protect yourself, but as time goes by, do you think you can survive for 100 years? 100% hidden? Survive 7 days? This. And wow, Your boss hasn't said anything about giving up yet, Sotingyu showed his trump card. Sotingyu didn't believe it. These members of the punishment would still hesitate to pull Gucci's tiger skin. Then let's carry out the original plan. Since Master Ju didn't say anything. Hey, that's right. I'll take the first step. Sotingyu waved his paw and turned to leave. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Kei. Chapter 762. In the drawing room. Many guests gathered here and talked loudly. Shan Yu called a waiter and asked him to pour 2 drinks. The waiter came and went, placing 2 drinks on the table in front of Shan Yu and Gucci. Shan Yu pushed one of the cups in Gucci's direction. Want to drink? Gucci glanced at the drink in front of him, reached out to take it, and sniffed at the mouth of the cup. Not wine. Gucci's eyebrows relaxed slightly, he lowered his head and took a sip. At this time, Shan Yu saw Mei Wengxiang talking to Chu Xinyu. Judging from his expression, he seemed to be having a good time talking. I have a good recipe here that can guarantee that Mei Ju will be pregnant within 3 months. Chu Xinyu threw out the bait with a smile on her face. When Mei Wengxiang heard this, his eyes lit up and he asked urgently, seriously? What is the good recipe? Hey, Chu Xinyu sighed and smiled helplessly. Actually, the good recipe has already been given to Mei Ju. Huh? Mei Wengxiang was confused. Chu Xinyu explained, at the auction that night, didn't I originally bid for a little thing? Before I knew that Mei Ju also liked that little thing, I made the little thing take a pill, and the pill. At the end of the conversation, Chu Xinyu gave her a look of "You understand, I understand," which successfully made Mei Wengxiang mistakenly think that Gucci had taken the pills made from the recipe for having a girl. Do you still have the pills? Mei Wengxiang suppressed the heat in her heart. Master Shan still doted on that little thing, and he was too embarrassed to ask for it. It's gone for the time being, because there is a shortage of key medicinal materials. If we wait to collect all the medicinal materials, we will have to wait at least 2 or 3 years. However, the effect of the medicine in the little thing's body should be estimated in 2 hours. Disappeared. Seeing that Mei Wengxiang could still be so calm, Chu Xinyu continued to add fuel to the fire. The choice was before Mei Wengxiang. Should we continue to wait for 2 or 3 years, or should we seize the opportunity now? After being tricked by Shan Yu at the auction, Chu Xinyu naturally would not give up. Therefore, Chu Xinyu sent people to investigate the relationship between Mei Wengxiang and Shan Yu. After this investigation, it was found that Mei Wengxiang longed for a child to inherit the mantle, and was extremely fond of beauty. Shan Yu took advantage of this and gained Mei Wengxiang's trust and support under the guise of the various strangeness of the game items. Once you know the reason, it's easy to handle. Chu Xinyu deliberately made up a good recipe that didn't exist at all, and then led it to Gucci. She wanted to see how Shan Yu would respond if Mei Wengxiang suddenly asked for someone. Mei Ju and Miss Shan are friends, and they must be inseparable. She should be able to understand you. Ha ha ha. Mei Wengxiang laughed and did not respond directly. Thank you, MSQU. Chu Xinyu smiled knowingly. Miss Shan is here too. I'll go talk to her first. Haha, just in time, I have something to do too, let's come together. Ever since, Shan Yu saw that the two people had finished their conversation quite harmoniously, and they all came over here. Chu Xinyu, Miss Shan, what a coincidence that you are also here to attend this banquet. It's a coincidence. Shan Yu glanced at Gucci, who had lowered his head beside him, with a faint smile on his face. Is something wrong? It's nothing. It's just that during the bidding meeting, I had a bit of fate with Miss Shan, right? After all, we look at an item in the same way. As he said that, Chu Xinyu moved his eyes to Gurai's. Shan Yu's smile didn't reach his eyes. It's different. Oh? What's the difference? Chu Xinyu pretended to be confused. Master Shan, I have something to discuss with you privately. Can you please lend me a moment? Mei Wengxiang said. Shan Yu's expression paused slightly. What did she want to say? Shan Yu glanced at Gucci, who was standing aside, and nodded, okay. After the two left, Chu Xinyu chuckled, Xiao Qi, are you still pretending that you don't know me? Get out, Gucci said one word in a cold voice without looking at her. Tisk tisk. Chu Xinyu glanced at the collar around Gucci's neck and sighed softly, so Xiao Qi likes this girl. And she wears the collar willingly. I'm not bad either, why does she hate me so much when she is a kid? Woolen cloth. Gucci held a glass with a drink in his hand and stared at the water in the glass. Are you asking me? Otherwise, Chu Xinyu shrugged. Suddenly, Gucci snorted coldly, he has never looked at you, right? Chu Xinyu's smile faded. That's right, Gucci continued, he has his own legitimate and beloved wife. Who do you think you are? If you can't get the genuine product, why do you want to make a knockoff to numb yourself? Oh, Chu Xinyu, you are so pitiful. Gucci looked at Chu Xinyu's face without any smile, and felt a sense of joy in his heart. Chu Xinyu looked Gucci up and down, and suddenly said, did you sleep well last night? What do you mean? Gucci slightly narrowed his eyes. Oh, I almost forgot. After the medicinal effect of that sugar takes effect, the person who takes it will lose a piece of memory, Chu Xinyu explained to herself. Originally, I wanted to give you a little surprise, who I know it was ruined by that Shan Yu, but I'm a little curious. Did Shan Yu do anything to you last night? After all, there's no reason to let the meat fly away in vain when it reaches your mouth, right? Gucci had a cold face and felt baffled by Chu Xinyu's words. But the sugar mentioned in the words. What do you want to say? Looking at Gucci's clueless expression, Chu Xinyu said, tisk, after all, the little girl is still shy and inexperienced. She really doesn't want to eat the meat that reaches her mouth. Chu Xinyu changed the subject, Xiao Qi, I just prepared another surprise for you. I hope you like it. I'll give you a little reminder, 3 words, Mei Wengxiang. After saying that, Chu Xinyu left. The other side. Mei Wengxiang told Shan Yu all his thoughts. I wonder, is it okay? Although Mei Wengxiang asked, his tone was unquestionable and there was no possibility of negotiation. Shan Yu smiled and nodded, of course you can. Originally, I just wanted to help Mei Bureau solve the problem. Now that there is a solution, it's not too late for me to be happy. Ha ha ha, thank you Master Shan. After getting the reply he wanted, Mei Wengxiang was in a good mood. Master, please don't worry, there are plenty of pets. If this one is missing, I will make up 10 more and bring them back to you. Since time is pressing, why not do it now? Shan Yu blinked his beautiful eyes, with obvious hints. Okay, I have a plan. Shan Yu nodded slightly, then Meiju will give you a location. I will go back and send the person here. Okay, as for the location, I have a reserved private room here, which can be used. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 763. Her Royal Highness the Second Princess has arrived. When Shan Yu returned to the reception hall, he heard the summons. Shan Yu turned to look, and among the crowd of people, there was a woman with an exquisite aura walking proudly like a white swan. Second Princess, Shan Yu glanced at her twice, then turned around to look for Gucci. When she saw Gucci, she found that Chu Xinyu was no longer here, so she asked casually, Chu Xinyu is gone. Yeah, Gucci responded lightly. What's wrong with you? Shan Yu, who was sitting back, noticed something was wrong with Gucci's mood, so he asked, is it because of Chu Xinyu? Gucci did not answer. Why does Mei Wengxiang want to see you? Just before I came out, I mentioned the possibility to you, Shan Yu replied casually. Hearing this, Guqi's face gradually darkened. I don't know what Chu Xinyu did. All in all, Mei Wengxiang regards you as, ahem, forget it, in short, it's almost the same. These things were too dirty and Shan Yu didn't want to mention them in front of Guqi. Then Shan Yu rolled his eyes and smiled slyly, then let's go with the flow, and then. You gave me to that woman, Guqi pursed his lips tightly, with some kind of storm in his eyes. No, Shan Yu quickly replied seriously, telling his true intention, it's to use the trick to attack her. I'm just going to aggrieve you for the time being, Mr. Guju. Guqi tilted his head. Although he knew it was just for show, he still felt a psychological nausea. Shan Yu stood up and said, follow me. Now, Guqi's face changed slightly. It's okay, I just went to slaughter a pig. Shan Yu bent down and whispered in Guqi's ear. Guqi glanced at her and stood up slowly, lead the way. Tisk. Look at that tone. Shan Yu felt that he didn't need to comfort anyone at all. At this time, the second princess appeared, and almost everyone's eyes fell on her. One or two people left the scene, looking inconspicuous. Shan Yu led the people to the designated place specified by Mei Wengxiang, stretched out his hand and knocked on the door. Are you Miss Shan? The door of the private room was opened from the inside, and a servant from the winery appeared. Shan Yu, yes, where is Meiju? Meiju is taking a bath inside, Miss Shan. Meiju said you can leave now that you have brought the person here. Oh, Shan Yu responded lukewarmly, you can go. Ah, the servant looked confused. What? Did Meiju ask you to stay? I just remembered that there are some important things, so I will leave after telling Meiju. Shan Yu looked calm. No. Then, okay, after all, the servant was just a servant, a messenger, and had no rights, so he just left the private room in a daze. After Shan Yu and Guqi entered, they locked the door of the private room, not giving the servant any chance to change his mind. After the two came in, they found that this was also a private room dedicated to fun, with all kinds of props available and the atmosphere just right. In the innermost part of the private room, a piece of beautiful and soothing light music was playing. And that direction is, the bathroom. Mei Wengxiang is in the bathroom. Shan Yu walked to an incense burner, poured out the spices inside, then took out a bag of powder from the inventory, poured all the powder into it, and finally covered the incense burner. Guqi, what did you pour? Shan Yu casually threw the paper originally wrapped with powder into the trash can at his feet, and explained, they are some gadgets I found in this dungeon world. By the way, the drink I just made you drink, the content in it is one of the ingredients happens to be the antidote, so the aroma that is being burned will not affect us. Have you planned this for a long time? Guqi frowned slightly. It doesn't count, I got this powder a long time ago. Didn't I have a plan today? If I need to use it, drinking a drink can also remove the effect of the medicine. If I don't use it? Shan Yu paused. After a pause, he blinked his beautiful eyes at Gu Kicking and said in a teasing voice, I'll treat it like buying you a drink. Hearing this, Guqi's expression was startled. Not long after the two of them finished talking, the door to the innermost bathroom opened. Hey, master, didn't I ask the winery servant to tell you that you can leave? Mei Wengxiang walked out of the bathroom, wrapped in a white bath towel and nothing else. Servant? I didn't meet anyone. Shan Yu opened his eyes and told lies. That's it, now that we've arrived, we have nothing to do with you. Master, you can leave. Mei Wengxiang waved his hand to chase them away. Such a good time must be a world of two, how can a third party get in the way? Yes, but, Meiju, are you sure you still have the energy to think about that kind of thing now? Shan Yu asked with a smile. What? Mei Wengxiang frowned, thinking that Shan Yu was questioning her ability. Of course I can, I'm just one. Not to mention one, All three are no problem. But soon, Mei Wengxiang realized the meaning of Shan Yu's words. Mei Wengxiang gradually felt that she was a little powerless, as if all her strength was suddenly restricted. Mei Wengxiang, whose hands and feet were weak, could not stand firmly and fell to the ground. Because of the force, all the bath towels covering her body came loose. Shan Yu's expression changed, and he quickly stretched out his hand to cover Guqi's eyes. "It's hot on your eyes, don't look at it." Guqi tilted his head, and then turned around. What's going on, how can I?" Mei Wengxiang tried hard to get up, but her hands and feet seemed to be out of control, and they were all doing useless work. Shan Yu pulled out the thin quilt on the bed and covered Mei Wengxiang's exposed body parts. "Aren't you going to cause a riot? Well, let's use this fat pig woman to do the surgery." Shan Yu kicked Mei Wengxiang, who was lying on the ground, and said in a cold tone, "I think it's quite appropriate." Guqi turned his head to look at her and said softly, "It's indeed suitable. What are you going to do? What kind of riot?" Only then did Mei Wengxiang vaguely realize that something was wrong. Shan Yu knelt down, reached out, and patted Mei Wengxiang's fat face hard. "Don't guess, you're going to die anyway." Master, I was wrong. I shouldn't have coveted your pet. Please forgive me this time." Seeing that Shan Yu's expression was serious and did not look like he was cheating, Mei Wengxiang felt a trace of fear in his heart. Shan Yu immediately corrected himself. "I made a mistake, he is not my pet. But, you are right, you shouldn't covet him. In life, there are not many opportunities to regret, so in the next life, be more discerning so that no one else dares to worry about you." After saying that, Shan Yu took out the kitchen knife from the inventory, struck quickly and accurately, and chopped off the pig's head with one stroke. The begging for mercy also stopped abruptly. There was blood on the kitchen knife, so Shan Yu took out the sheet, wiped off the blood carefully, and then put it in the inventory. After doing this, Shan Yu turned her head, only to find that Guqi was staring at her strangely, which made her a little confused. "Why are you looking at me like this?" Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 764. "No, it's nothing, it's just." Guqi tilted his head slightly, with an unreadable expression on his face. Guqi felt a little weird in his heart. This feeling of being protected by others the whole time was very awkward. Moreover, it was clear that this woman had the same attitude as before, smiling but not smiling, but Guqi still felt that something was different. Shan Yu was confused. "What is it?" Guqi's face regained his composure. "It's okay." Okay. Since Guqi refused to explain clearly, Shan Yu was too lazy to continue asking and returned to the topic. "Find a bag to put something in, this is it." Shan Yu found a drawstring bag in the room and put the head of Mei Wengxiang in it. Okay. Shan Yu held up the bag string and looked a little happy. "By the way, Guqi, you stay here first." "Guqi, what's wrong?" Shan Yu blinked her beautiful eyes lightly and said with a smile, "I sent you here, how could you leave in just a few minutes? This will make Mei Wengxiang's close subordinates suspicious." Mei Wengxiang wanted to do that kind of thing, so he sent away his close subordinates early, but the latter should also be an insider. If Guqi shows up but Mei Wengxiang is nowhere to be seen, it will easily arouse suspicion. "New." Shan Yu looked around and pointed to the small sofa beside him. "You can sit anywhere and wait until the riot starts. Then you can leave. I will come find you then." Without saying a word, he turned around and glanced at the headless corpse on the ground and the blood sprayed all over the ground. Shan Yu was about to turn around and leave when he suddenly remembered something. He immediately turned his head and asked in a curious tone, "Guju, you are not afraid of being in the same room with a corpse, are you? If you are, there is no need to be brave." Guqi's black face said, "Get out." Shan Yu felt relieved instantly. Judging from this reaction, he shouldn't be afraid. In an apartment complex near the winery, a group of men looked angry and full of ambition. These people are extremely yin men who were fooled by Xiang Jingqing and others in a short period of time. In order to increase the success rate of persuasion, Xiang Jingqing and others initially targeted those extremely yin men who had been smuggled over and had not yet completed all physical transformations. Being accustomed to the freedom of the Jiyang continent, once he made a mistake and was caught in the Jiyan continent, he was about to become the plaything of women. His heart must be unbalanced, and he wanted to seize every opportunity to escape back to the Jiyang continent. Therefore, Xiang Jingqing provides these people with hidden shelters and distributes weapons to them so that they can fight against women and even take revenge on women. The leader loudly asked everyone, "Do you want to be oppressed by those women all the time? Do you want to spend the rest of your life reduced to a gloomy life of women's playthings?" "No, we don't want to," everyone responded, each of them holding various weapons such as swords and guns. "Brothers, we must resist. The opportunity is right in front of us, and it may be the only one this time. We must not miss it. Charge!" There were hundreds of men present, and at this moment, the expressions on their faces revealed the courage of all odds. They knew very well that they were preparing to do something very whimsical and big. But with the arrow on the string, there is no way to regret it, and no time to regret it. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 765. When Shan Yu returned to the living room, he heard people around him talking about. The second princess actually wants to perform in public. As expected of the second princess, she is indeed very versatile. But what is the second princess planning to perform? No matter what you are going to perform later, you must support me. Yet, there were quite a lot of these voices, and almost all the people gathered together in small groups could not help but talk. Shan Yu remembered Su Tingyu's explanation and quietly took out the earplugs and plugged both ears. Next, let's watch Susu's performance. Shan Yu sat in the corner and calmly watched the scenes. At this time, the lights in the entire venue were suddenly turned off. In the darkness, just as people were turning their heads to look around, a beam of light falling from the sky hit the center of the stage. On the stage, a figure appeared, holding a microphone in his hand. "It's Her Royal Highness the Second Princess." Someone in the crowd made a voice, and then everyone fell silent. Shan Yu watched the second princess on the stage, after thinking for a moment, slowly raised the microphone. The traffic in the city and the trembling on the surface of the earth are like the tenderness after a stone falls into the center of the earth. Undercurrent / the river flowed through her building at the corner / awakened by the nightmare / whispering softly, the cub behind her. The senses are ineffective and all that's left is numbness and dullness, unable to feel anything. All the common support has collapsed / but we all / have forgotten now / who is hiding the spring and autumn / who is planting the flag on the highest building after the heavy rain. The old things of the past are still holding on / the heart is rotten / tottering and unwilling to step back / destruction is salvation. Because she was wearing earplugs, Shan Yu couldn't hear the singing, but she could tell something from the reactions of people nearby. In the beginning, these upper-class ladies from the extreme yin zone had the mentality of being ready to support him no matter what happened, good or bad. But slowly, emotions of surprise and admiration appeared in his eyes, and his expression was soothing, as if he was enjoying the beautiful voice. Then, 1, 2, 3, people fell to the ground one after another. Even those who lost consciousness later, when they noticed something was wrong, they had no time to cover their ears. In the end, they all fell unconscious on the spot. Shan Yu watched this scene helplessly, a little amazed. What a magical probability. I don't know if Susu's game prop is disposable or reusable. Who would unsuspectingly notice that singing can be hypnotic? Su Tingyu's singing at this moment was not only broadcast in the living room, but was also directly transmitted to various parts of the winery by various audio equipment. Except for the criminal members who took precautions in advance, everyone was caught. It was almost time to end. On the stage, the second princess closed her mic with satisfaction. She glanced at the large, cheering audience under the stage and became even more satisfied. Crack. At this time, the lights in the living room returned to normal. Members of the scene team rushed to the scene within the agreed time and quickly locked the handcuffs and leg cuffs on the unconscious people on the ground. However, there were too many people and it would take some time. Shan Yu took advantage of this gap and went back to look for Gucci. When the two returned to the living room again, the scene was already under control. It went very well. Su Tingyu had lost the effect of the disguise potion and returned to his normal appearance. Lyrics taken from The Bad City. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 766. Shan Yu couldn't answer the question. Indeed, it was smooth, too smooth. Without knowing it, Su Tingyu's probabilities were too difficult to guard against. Brothers. Charge. Kill these female bullies. There was a roar outside, which shocked Su Tingyu and others. Xiang Jingqing quickly explained, we just opened the door and let those people in, maybe some of them are a little more excited. Hearing this, Su Tingyu expressed her understanding, then should Sister Shan Yu and I avoid suspicion? Shan Yu took out a human skin mask from his inventory and put it directly on his face. This was a man's face, and this face was familiar to Su Tingyu. He looked like the warden of the island prison. Shan Yu still kept the human skin mask, and she seemed to have already planned it. Her clothes were neutral and she was wearing sneakers. Even if she suddenly changed her face, it wouldn't look out of place. I have this. Shan Yu pointed at his current face. Su Tingyu blinked his big eyes, it seems that the effect of my disguise potion hasn't worn off yet. While muttering, he began to change his face, and even his whole body turned into a man. Gucci glanced at the two of them, then turned to Xiang Jingqing and said, let those people be sensible. Yes, Master Ju. Xiang Jingqing responded, then turned and left the living room. Xiang Jingqing left, scanning every corner of the venue as if he was looking for something. Are you looking for Chu Xinyu? The old woman seems to have disappeared. Shan Yu noticed Gucci's strangeness, guessed the latter's thoughts at a glance, and said. Su Tingyu looked at the two of them and recalled the scene she had seen before. Are you looking for Chu Xinyu? She seemed to have left for something just now. She is not in the winery at the moment. Something happened to leave? This old woman is very lucky. Shan Yu was a little regretful. Originally, he wanted to take this opportunity to take revenge on Chu Xinyu. Hearing this, Gucci withdrew his gaze. After waiting for a while, Xiang Jingqing came in with a group of men. The men all held various weapons in their hands. When they saw the woman lying on the ground, they wanted to chop them down with their weapons. However, Xiang Jingqing had obviously done a good job of ideological work. Although there was resentment in the eyes of the men, they still restrained their impulses. These men began to take over the work of the execution members present, guarding those who should be guarded, and guarding those who should be sentry. Several leaders among these men were brought over by Xiang Jingqing. Thank you for your help. I, Wang Yang, am very grateful. These people also know the cause and effect. Although they are not very clear why someone can suddenly help them and have the ability to plan a riot in the extremely dark area, when they see that they are all men, all doubts are instantly forgotten. You're welcome. We are also thinking about ourselves and the future happiness and freedom of our thousands of male descendants. Su Tingyu opened his mouth to talk about Wei Guangzhen's big words, with a look of justice on his face. Yes. That's right. Not only for us, but also for our future generations, this extreme feminist society should also change. Several men's faces turned red with excitement, as if they had experienced darkness for a long time and suddenly saw something. That glimmer of light is like a flame of hope. When Sutinyu heard this, he immediately gave a thumbs up. Brother, you are ambitious. I support you. Oh ho. You won't fool people into lameness, right? Sutinyu only caused a temporary riot, and there was no way to completely change the current social situation. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 767. On the back cliff of the winery. Sutinyu looked at the several extremely yin male representatives in front of him and said, what you want to do with the people in the winery next depends on your wishes. Yes, yes, thank you for your help, so that we can escape from the sea of suffering. Sutinyu waved his hand. I just pointed out the direction for you. You still need to control your future destiny. Okay, okay. Several extremely yin men nodded repeatedly. It's time for us to leave. See you again when we are destined. There is a sea outside Haoya, and Seen has arranged several small boats in advance to pick up people nearby. In the previous plan, no matter whether the riot was successful or not, Sutinyu and others fled quickly. After all the male representatives of Jiyin left, Seen Xiong Jingqing looked at the direction in which the former were leaving and asked, Miss Su, do you think these men in the extreme yin zone will finally get the fair treatment they want? Xiong Jingqing is a man. In the past few days in the extreme yin zone, Bai Sutinyu has experienced more personally how low the status and treatment of men are in the extreme yin zone. They are equal to livestock and are beaten, scolded, and played with by women at will. Difficult. Sutinyu gave the answer simply. The essential reason for the difference in status between men and women in the yin-yang continent is the existence of the yin-yang factor. As long as we cannot find a way to eliminate the yin-yang factor, then all resistance, riots will only lead to failure in the end. Xiong Jingqing's face changed slightly, then everyone gets what they need. Shan Yu added, we just want to cause a moment of unrest, while those extremely yin men want to fight. Both sides are just taking advantage of each other. By the way, there has been a riot, and nearly half of the high-ranking officials in the extreme yin zone were massacred. Why hasn't the panel system responded at all? Is it possible that these few people have not died enough? Sutinyu thought, could he kill more people? But wouldn't that be too much trouble? Gucci's tone was cold. What's the rush? Let the beheading knife be raised a little longer. With so many people, it is impossible to kill them all quickly in just a short time. That's right. Sutinyu blinked his big eyes. There was no sound from the panel system, so Sutinyu and others couldn't wait any longer, so they all boarded the ship docked at the beach. After Shan Yu got on the boat, he took a glance and saw Gucci talking to other members of the gang on the bow. After waiting for a while, the conversation over there seemed to be over. After the scene members also left, Shan Yu walked over. Gucci. Gucci looked at Shan Yu approaching and subconsciously took half a step back. Shan Yu noticed it and paused for a moment, then deliberately pretended not to notice and continued to approach. Let me ask you something. What? Gucci stopped and asked subconsciously. Shan Yu tapped his right index finger gently. Are you still going to wear this thing? Are you going to take it off? Gucci was stunned for a moment. Following the direction pointed by Shan Yu, the former lowered his head and saw that the collar he was wearing hadn't been taken off yet. Shan Yu stepped forward in 2 steps, stretched out his hands at the same time, one to the left and one to the right, pinched the edge of the collar, moved his fingertips slowly back, pressed the switch at the back, and the collar instantly opened. After taking off the collar, Shan Yu took a step back, hooked the collar with his fingertips, and blinked his beautiful eyes. Gucci, if you want to keep wearing it, I don't mind. Gucci blinked his cat eyes dully, and then refused instantly. If you don't want it, take it away.